Today I want to give my final thoughts on the cold steel competition cutter. This resembles an 18C style sword, something that you might see like the Alexandria or Principe from Albion, the 18C that you see from Valor Arms, characterized with a very wide blade here at the bottom, and then it tapers to a pretty acute point. This one doesn't taper to such an acute point as some of the other ones, and it also doesn't start quite as thick here at the base. That being said, still has the overall profile. This one has a uniform thickness and just starts thin and stays the same thickness throughout. The result of that is the blade is a little bit more flexible. This particular one is not overly flexible, and I didn't find it wobbly when I was cutting with it. Of course, I was not cutting super hard targets, mostly cutting water bottles. This sword is incredibly light. This is probably one of the lightest swords I own. It is not peened. Through all the testing that I did with it, this hasn't loosened up at all. And if it did loosen up, it'd be pretty easy to just tighten back up. It came sharp, but it did not come razor sharp. It came functionally sharp. We'll try testing the edge again. See how the edge is held up. Oh, that one tore a little bit. Let's try the other edge. Still pretty sharp. That might have just been, let me go back to the first edge. It might have just been error on my part. Tears a little bit. Like I said, it's a functionally sharp edge. Definitely not the sharpest of the swords I've had. The swordier sword that I got, that one did come sharper out of the box than this has. There are some companies that are worse off than this. I feel like Cold Steel generally puts an okay edge on their blade. Handling wise, very easy to maneuver. It's a relatively short blade. This is the Valor Arms Falchion. So this is a single-handed sword. This Cold Steel competition cutter is a little bit longer, but not by much. This is about the same length that you would find on some single-handed swords. The fact that this happens to be a slightly shorter blade than normal for a two-handed European sword, and the fact that it's thin makes it extremely light, extremely maneuverable. You can accelerate it pretty quickly, makes it go through targets pretty easily. Now, if this happened to be more flexible, then it would be kind of hard to control. And I think that's maybe one of the reasons why these blades are shorter, because if you made this sword much longer with how thin the blade is, then it probably would be overly flexible. How do I feel about the handle? Grip is a little wide for me. It took a little bit of getting used to. It is a little slippery. It'd be that hard to polish this edge up and get it extremely sharp. And then I imagine that it would make cutting even easier. That being said, cutting was not that difficult. After I did a couple of cuts and was like, okay, yep, I know how this sword's handling. I know where the sweet spot is. After that, it was a lot of fun to use. I do some single-handed cuts. Again, you can use it one-handed or two very easily. I do some, cut combinations. In short, would I recommend this? Is this something that I would ever take to a cutting competition? Probably not. But is it worth buying? I would say heck yeah, because getting a fun, functional sword under the $200 price point. Probably going to use this sword fairly frequently, because if I mess up, if I damage the sword, I'm not breaking the bank. It would be pretty easy to replace this sword. Hopefully that helps you decide if this is a good sword for you.